Here I redressed the set a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. That banner used to be from when I had the Grindhouse show, 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse, on Jackalope Radio back in the day, which we had a lot of fun with. You never know who used to call in. Sometimes Jack Ketchum would call in, Gary Kent, other people. We had a lot of fun, but of course, that was a few years ago, and obviously a lot of the stuff that we had done on that show, we couldn't get away with today, unfortunately, because everybody just got so overly fucking sensitive. So let me adjust this thing where I can get my ass in here and do this show. Okay. Gonna blow it up a little bit anyway. All right. I will get myself in camera range. Yeah, it was a good little show. A lot of people had fun. It was on every Friday night for about 5 years until things happened, and it, like everything else, it came apart. I hate to keep going back to this shit, but unfortunately I saw something over the weekend. I'm doing this on after Dingus Day. Dingus Day seems to be big in Ohio. Spelled D-Y instead of D-I, so I always think it means something else. But then again, when I moved up here and people said, hey, you want to play cornhole? I'm like, well, that has a whole different meaning in New York than it does here, so no, I don't want to play cornhole. So anyway, there was a convention down in Pittsburgh, Steel City Convention or something like that, and it was all A-list attendees, I heard. Chevy Chase, Randy Quaid, who didn't show up. But the one that really stuck in my craw when I heard what was going on was Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd not only charged a ridiculous amount for his signature, but if you wanted it personalized, it was $25 a word extra. $25 a word extra. Okay? Seriously, Chris, it's not the fans' fault that you obviously didn't save for your retirement, or maybe you did, but you're just fucking greedy. Because that's what it comes down to, all this shit. This is just greed, and these fans are lining up like a bunch of marks and paying a ridiculous price to you people. I understand that you really don't like, to talk about the Dr. Brown character. Hey, dude, if you didn't like the character, number one, you shouldn't have done the first Back to the Future. You shouldn't have done the 2 sequels, and you shouldn't have done the cameos like 8 Million Ways to Die in the West. And if you really hate the character that much, I sort of question the fact that you're part of a Back to the Future reunion coming up at the end of April in New Jersey at the Chiller Theater Convention. So I'm wondering if you're going to continue your ass raping of the fans there. This is the reason, among other things, that I'm not involved anymore. I mean, you can go back to the 3 conventions that I was involved with, Chiller, Monster Mania, and Cinema Wasteland, and you will probably find that I've been erased from those conventions' memory. For the simple reason of being 42nd Street Pete, or in the case of the bigger conventions, speaking out about how the fans were treated. I don't know, it just got to the point where it was ridiculous, and honestly, I don't miss it anymore. I miss hanging out and interacting with friends and fans and stuff, and talking about movies, because that was why these things were started in the first place. But it seems that the movies have taken a back seat, unless you're, one of these boutique DVD companies that seems to just pop up at every show. Or, it's more of like, gee, I really need that $150 autograph, and I really need to give this guy another $50 so I can stand next to him and have him ignore me while, he takes the picture. Yeah, sour grapes, right? But who fucking cares? It's gotten to the point where it's no longer fun for me, and probably no longer fun for a lot of other people. But I never, sold a signature of mine, even though people had asked me. The only thing I had done at one point was I was doing this, trying to get this no-kill shelter, so I had these stupid 8x10s made up that basically I was selling, these for like $5 a piece at the convention, but I never got there because that was the show I canceled out. I still have these, but what I'm going to say now is what I would like to do, because I also have 10 of the last Grindhouse-Purgatory, which was the last thing I wrote, and 10 of the Something Weird Blue Book, which was the first thing I ever wrote. So what I'm going to offer now is there seems to be a problem, or there's always a problem, with this ongoing Ukraine thing. But what was left out was the pets. And people are trying to rescue their pets and keep them in a safe place, and it's costing a lot of money. So what I'm going to do here is, if you want one of these 8x10s, just realize that it costs me $3.20 to ship it. So if you want an 8x10, throw me what you want to throw me, and I'll mail it out to you and give whatever I get above the shipping cost to the charity. Same with the magazines. Tell you what, donate $20 to the cause. I ship you both, and donate the proceeds from that to helping these pets from that are messed up in the Ukraine. I got more empathy for animals right about now than I have for human beings, and it says a lot. But I've always tried to take care of the animals. I own 2 rescue dogs. I volunteered at a shelter. When I was at Wasteland, I had a can out and raised a lot of money for the no-kill shelter, so that's what I'm doing now. So if anybody's interested, don't leave it in the comments, because sometimes I don't get the comments until late. You can email me at grindhousepurgatory@gmail.com if you're interested. So that's that. Today we're going to talk about spaghetti westerns again, and not just any spaghetti westerns. You see, I mentioned this before, that a friend of mine had a company called Wild East Productions, which basically was restoring a lot of spaghetti westerns. And unfortunately, because of the bootlegging, the piracy, the torrent sites, and fans that obviously don't give a fuck about the artists getting paid, January 1st was it for them. You can still find a few titles on their website, but here's the real scummy thing: is as soon as they announced they were going out of business, all these titles popped up on eBay for like ridiculous money. And they had put out a lot of very, very good titles. And I know there's a lot of books out about spaghetti westerns, and a lot of the ones I'm going to show you, I can't say 100% sure whether they ran in the United States or they didn't run in the United States. The whole thing was to make them more marketable. Producers would hire an American name that was either on the downhill slide or coming up. People like John Ireland, Ed Burns, Gilbert Rowland, Van Heflin, Jack Elam, people like that, would get, extra work by going over to Europe. And sometimes, these people, were dealing with their own personal problems, like, I hate to speak, ill of Lee Van Cleef, but unfortunately Lee was an alcoholic. And Beverly Garland told me, when I had a conversation with her at Schiller Theater, and she was a really, really nice lady, she was very complimentary of Lee, but said, by about 1 o'clock he reeked of vodka on the set. And it was just sad. And basically, it was the same with Van Heflin, another one who had alcohol problems. But, they could get on camera and shake it all off and give that performance. But after hours is when they, folded up, so to speak, into their own selves. Another one was Guy Madison, who, was over there also. I mean, there's a plethora of American actors that went over there to give the film some credibility, and if they couldn't get an American actor, what they did was they take an Italian actor and Americanized their name to put it in the credits. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. I mean, Django ran for about a week on 42nd Street, and that was it. Reason being that nobody knew who the fuck Franco Nero was back then. George Hilton was another guy that, did a lot of spaghetti westerns, and his name was a bit of a draw. But, going into this whole thing here, here's one. A big Lee Van Cleef double feature. The Grand Duel and Beyond the Law. The Grand Duel, I believe Arrow, or I might have been Blue Underground, has it out on Blu-ray now. Beyond the Law is an interesting film, because Lee starts out as this scruffy, bandito type guy, sort of a similar character he played in El Condor, but then through the film morphs into the respectable sheriff. This also had spaghetti western regular Gordon Mitchell, who was part of the Sword and Sandal whole thing, and Lionel Stander, who was a communist and was blacklisted and expatriated over there and was doing a lot of European films until he came back to the States. He did a TV show. What the hell was it? Oh shit, I can't remember, but he was a regular on a TV show. He was Heart to Heart. Could be, but anyway. Another one here. 2 killer spaghetti westerns. Killer Be Killed and Killed the Wicked. Americanized names, Larry Ward and Robert Mark. Again, Gordon Mitchell was in this too. I don't think these ran over here, but again, I'm not 100% sure. Wild East would also delve into other things like a Goliath spectacular. Goliath and the Barbarians and Goliath and the Vampires. These were 60s films. Gordon Scott was in Goliath and the Vampires, and Steve Reeves was in Goliath and the Barbarians. Goliath and the Vampires was directed by Sergio Corbucci, and strangely, this was booked as a kiddie matinee. And this was some rugged stuff because it wasn't really vampires, it was some kind of a demon, but they had people impaled, cut by swords, women fed to sharks, zombies, all kinds of weird shit that no kid my age in 1964 should have seen. But I always said, God bless the irresponsible bastards who book kiddie matinees. So, Wild East also put them out. Another one, and this is a rough one, Robert Woods as Blackjack, an outlaw who's crippled, and he plays the whole crippled thing to a hilt. Again, this is another one that, honestly, I don't think it made the States here, but it's one of those films where it's kind of hard to watch because this guy's so fucked up. But again, another good one. Okay, George Hilton did a bunch of them. Here's another one. Full House for the Devil and A Moment to Kill. George was in a lot of these. The one I remember him most for was The Ruthless Four, where he co-starred with Klaus Kinski, Van Heflin, and Gilbert Roland. And here's another one. Okay, who's this one? This is a Leonard Mann double feature. It's The Forgotten Pistolero and The Unholy Four. And 2 of the Unholy Four are Woody Strode and Luigi Montefiore, a.k.a. George Eastman, who did a lot of spaghetti westerns. George Eastman actually played Django for a while. Woody Strode got into this whole deal. What happened was, when Sergio Leone was doing Once Upon a Time in the West, he wanted Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, and Eli Wallach to show up and be the 3 guys that met Bronson at the train station, sort of symbolizing the Old West segueing into the New West. Well, Eastwood was the lone holdout, so they didn't do that. So instead, the 3 guys that met Charles Bronson at the train were Al Mullock, Jack Elm, and Woody Strode. Now, Woody Strode got paid, I believe, $10,000 to go over there and do that one scene. But in doing that one scene, it sort of opened the doors for him over in Europe to do a lot more spaghetti westerns and also some crime films. And I'm going to show you something here. I have to pull one out and make sure I got the right one. But if you look at this one, The Italian Connection by Fernando de Leon, you'll notice that Woody Strode and Henry Silva play hitmen. Now, where do you think Quentin Tarantino got the idea for Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta to be hitmen in Pulp Fiction? Obviously from this film, The Italian Connection, which is pretty brutal. Actually, it's a whole box set. I don't know if you can still get it. There's two Fernando Leon box sets, and they're all crime stuff. Oops, tip stuff over here. Another big double feature. Also with American stars Richard Harrison, Gilbert Roland in Between God, the Devil, and a Winchester, and Mark Damone and Lawrence Dobkin in Johnny Huma. Mark Damone also was over there a lot and did a lot of spaghetti westerns too. Gilbert Roland did, I think, 3 or 4 of them. Not only did he do The Ruthless Four, but it was, what the hell was the other one? Oh man, I am drawing a blank on that one. It was something to do with Ed Burns was in it too. Damn, I'm drawing a blank, son of a bitch. Well, anyway, if you look on IMDb, I could flip the computer on, but I don't feel like doing it now. So anyway, go away. Okay, then there's another one here, a Peter Lee Lawrence double feature, A Gun for 100 Graves and Ride for a Massacre. Peter Lee Lawrence was one of those good-looking, blonde-headed guys who wound up doing a lot of spaghetti westerns. Of course, Peter Lee Lawrence wasn't his real name, but he did a lot of stuff, including playing Billy the Kid at one point. So there's another double feature. Like I said, unfortunately, all this stuff is out of print now. Then another actor was George Artisan, and this one is May God Forgive You, I Don't, and Massacre at Grand Canyon. Massacre at Grand Canyon starred Robert Mitchum's son, older son, James, who did this, The Tramplers, and I believe another one somewhere before, like I said, a lot of guys, they weren't finding work in the States, so they, would go overseas and find plenty of work. I know Chris Mitchum, the younger son, found a lot of work over there also. Now here's one. This is an Ed Burns deal, because Ed Burns was kooky in 77 Sunset Strip, and I did an extended talk about Payment in Blood, and it's double billed with Red Blood, Yellow Gold. These two are two incredibly violent films, and I think they were sort of like grooming Burns to be what they would think was the next Clint Eastwood, but again, he only made, I believe, 3 spaghetti westerns before he came back to the States. And I just watched this the other night. These were directed by Rafael Romero Marchant. Garango with Anthony Stephan and Peter Lee Lawrence, and Peter Martell, Two Crosses at Danger Pass. Again, this one may still be available on the Wild East website, because I just got in under the wire and grabbed some stuff. Basically, these two films have a similar plot where a young boy watches his family get wiped out and then grows up, becomes a gunslinger, and comes back for revenge. In Garango, Anthony Stephan plays this Union colonel, and what happened was the Peter Lee Lawrence character's father was killed by a colonel, so he amuses himself by hunting down Union officers, killing them, and pulling off their emplets, or whatever those things are, and putting them on his father's grave. Of course, eventually it all turns back to him, because Garango has been sent out to either bring him back. He wants to bring him back alive, but there's other forces lurking, like bounty hunters, who want to collect the big bounty on him. So that was another good one. And last but not least, this isn't a Wild East production. Actually, MGM put this out. This was another sort of answer to Clint Eastwood, The Stranger. The original title was A Dollar in the Teeth, but they changed it to The Stranger. Then they had The Stranger Returns, and then The Silent Stranger. Actually, it was The Stranger in Japan. Well, the two Stranger films aren't too bad. They're not Clint Eastwood. There's plenty of action. Frank Wolf is in one of them. Tony Anthony did some other films. Get Mean, where he played a similar character. But like I say, when you get into this shit, when he goes into Japan, it's almost like the theater of the as bird, because a lot of weird shit's happening in Japan and Get Mean, which sort of causes you to put your sense of disbelief on hold. And it's not that great. Tony Anthony also did Blind Man, and what the hell was it? Come Together, I think, or something. And there was some. Maybe the 3D film Treasure of the Four Crowns, because he was big on doing some 3D stuff, and occasionally he would still come out of retirement to do some work with Mark Damon and other guys. As far as I know, he's still alive and well and living down in, I believe, the Carolinas today. Now, there'd be a good guest for a convention, but who the fuck knows who's going to pull him up. So, anyway, that's my episode for today. Good shot at spaghetti westerns. And actually, it's Tuesday. It's snowing in Ohio. It's fucking cold, and I wish spring would come. And like I said, I got my 4th vaccine, which sort of knocked the shit out of me, but you got to do what you got to do. I just don't trust that this thing's over, so I advise everybody to stay safe, use caution. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Again, the best way to get a hold of me is email me at grindhousepurgatory@gmail.com. And like I said, if you're interested in any of this other stuff, just, shoot me an email and we'll set it up. So until next time, stay safe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the flip side.